Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here today for what you're going to find out is a very historic occasion in North Country history. And for the latest good news from our good friend and partner who, when he came in just a few minutes ago, I said, you know, welcome. On the other hand, it doesn't seem like you ever leave the North Country, so I don't know that we need to welcome you. But we love you being here, and we love your partnership and your friendship and your support. I'll have the pleasure of welcoming the governor to the podium shortly, and then our friends Betty Little and Billy Jones will speak afterwards, Billy closing the program. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge some of our other special guests who are here with us today. Assemblyman Dan Steck. Dan. Our host here today, President of Clinton Community College, Ray DePasquale. Thank you for hosting us here. Mayor of the City of Plattsburgh, Colin Reed. Clinton County Administrator, Mike Zerlo. Clinton County District Attorney, Andrew Wiley. Clinton County Treasurer, Kimberly Davis. Clinton County Sheriff, Dave Favreau. Dave is also chair of the board here at Clinton Community College, and thank you to Ray and you and all of your colleagues on the board for the great job being done here. Plattsburgh Town Supervisor, Mike Cashman. From the Clinton County Legislature, Bobby Hall, Patty Waldron, Chris Rosenquist, and Simon Conroy. President of SUNY Plattsburgh, John Etling. And some other great friends from the administration who are here with the governor, Director of State Operations, Kathy Calhoun. Commissioner of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Basil Segos. Commissioner of New York State Housing and Community Renewal, Ruth Ann Visnauskas. And all of the many other town supervisors, village and city mayors, and other distinguished guests who are with us here today, welcome and thank you for joining us. Most of you know our economic development mantra in the Plattsburgh area is the following: where things move is where prosperity occurs, which matches the philosophy, the vision, the sense of history that the governor has, who understands and talks about the Erie Canal all the time, which was exactly that, understanding the power of movement. That's why we have put ourselves in the business of movement and of making the things that make things and people move. The governor gets this, and he has been making strategic investments of an historic scale over the last year alone in visits almost routinely now to Plattsburgh. The $38 million of investment in Plattsburgh International Airport, which is now unfolding this year to open that up as an aerospace park as well as an international airport for passenger service. $12.7 million for the Institute for Advanced Manufacturing right here on this campus at Clinton Community College, dedicated last fall. $125 million for Norse Titanium, the latest addition to our growing transportation equipment and aerospace cluster, really taking us to an entirely new level in the world of global aerospace technology. And just when you might think there couldn't be more, he's here again. Now, could it be possible that the announcement is anything in the territory of the kinds of numbers that we've already had over the last year? It doesn't seem possible, but stay tuned and hold on to your seats because you're going to love the news that he's about to give us. 8 years ago, we were talking about broadband here in the North Country, and then the Regional Economic Development Council was put in place by our friend, and one of the first topics we put a spotlight on was the need for broadband. Under prior governors, we were told, yeah, broadband's important, but it's not economic development. This governor said, I'm going to empower the regions to tell us what economic development is. We said in the North Country, broadband is economic development. And from those first couple of rounds of the CFA process through the Regional Council, we started to get funding for some of the initial broadband projects here in the North Country. And then a little more, and a little more, and then the exciting 3-year commitment of this governor, first of its kind in the country, to really bring broadband to virtually everyone in New York State. Important nowhere as much as it is important to the North Country. It's seminal. to our ability for people to live and work and invest here in the North Country. And we have to thank our friend for that. It's his vision, it's his commitment, it's his listening and trusting us here in the North Country, that when we say something is important, all right, you say it's important, I'm going to put investment behind it. He's been doing that steadily, and we're about to have another historic milestone in that great mission of closing the broadband gaps here in the North Country. Please join in welcoming our friend, our partner, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. My pleasure to be here today. First, Mr. Gary Douglas. He joined the Regional Economic Development Council right from the beginning, and he said, you know, I'm a busy guy. How much time do you need? I said, Gary, no more than 1 year. That was 7 years ago. So let's give him a big round of applause for all his good work. My colleague, my friend, a woman who inspires me and so many people who work in Albany, Senator Betty Little. It's a pleasure to be with her. Billy Jones, who's doing just a great, great job down in the legislature. You should be proud of him. Let's give him a round of applause. Dan Steck, Assemblyman, is here. Give him a round of applause. Ray DiPasquale, you're doing a great job. Make me proud to be an Italian. Ray just showed me a little note he had from my father, 1984, almost made me cry, but you're doing beautiful work here. Congratulations on that Advanced Manufacturing Center. That is about the future. Ray DiPasquale, thank you for what you're doing. And to the mayor and the DA and the supervisor and my team who's here, we have the housing commissioner, we have the environmental commissioner, we have every commissioner you could name who are here today. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank them for coming up. Gary's right. I love the North Country. I hope you don't take it for granted because you're here all the time. But it is a special place, not just in the state. It is a special place on the globe. It really is. And I've been coming up since I was a relatively young fellow. My father was governor, so he was always working. My father, you couldn't get him away from the desk. But I used to take my brother Chris, and we would come up all the time. Chris took a different path in life, a little bit of a downturn. He became a reporter. All due respect, all due respect. He's a character. He's on CNN. He tells everybody it stands for Cuomo News Network. Just started a new show at night called Cuomo Primetime, which I believe is a trademark infringement because I am Cuomo. And when it just says Cuomo Primetime, that is misleading. And also, he's costing me a lot of votes because he offends everybody. Democrats, Republicans, independents, it doesn't matter. No, it's a problem. And to sue my brother for trademark infringement is a problem because my mother gets mad. So it's a conundrum. But he's a very competitive guy, my brother. I was thinking about it on the way up. We come up one time for a fishing trip on Saranac. And there has to be a competition because otherwise you're not a Cuomo. So we had a competition, who can catch the most fish in an hour, okay? He's at the front of the boat, I'm at the back of the boat. It's a small boat. It's very, very close on who catches the most fish. We're basically tied. He's in the front. He goes to cast, and he goes to cast. My brother's from the school of the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish. So he has a big lure, metal, silver spoon. And he goes to cast, and he brings the rod back. The lure flies, hits me right in the head. Hit me so hard, knocks me to the bottom of the boat. I open my eyes in a haze about 5 minutes later. He says, I caught 2 more fish, I won, competition's over. He said, those fish do not count. You cannot knock out the opponent in a fishing tournament and then claim victory. But he did. He did. So I've been coming up for a long time, and it's been beautiful with my girls. I sneak out whenever I can, sometimes when it just gets too overbearing in Albany, which Billy and Dan and Betty will tell you can get very intense when you're trying to get the budget done and you're trying to get a negotiation. So I'll say, I'm going to take a little break. And I take a break, and whenever I can, I come up just because it's so beautiful, and the energy and the light, and just it's the magic of the North Country is really special. So God bless you. And whenever I can, I'm up, and anything I can ever do to help, I will help. The North Country, they also give you that blunt candor in the North Country. And when I first became governor, I said to somebody, well, how do you get treated by the state government in Albany? He said, let me put it this way. We get better treated by Canada than we do Albany. And there was something to that. There's a sense that the North Country was left behind. That the North Country was not getting the attention it deserved. In truth, it wasn't just the North Country. It was basically all across upstate New York. And there's a practical dynamic for it. Most of the legislature is from downstate New York. New York City and Long Island. That's probably 75% of the legislature. And a legislator's instinct is to bring home bacon and deliver services for their district. So you have all that energy focused on downstate. You have very little focused on upstate. And over the years, there's no doubt that downstate got more attention, upstate got less attention, and there's also no doubt that upstate New York needed more help because the economy in upstate New York was more fragile than it was in downstate New York, and it had been for years. Our challenge was to reverse that dynamic. And day one when I came in, I said there's been a basic inequity in what we have done. I get the politics, I get the power of downstate, but the need is in upstate. And we are one state at the end of the day. So the better upstate does, and the better the upstate economy, even the better for downstate. But that was an entire culture shift that we had to go through. And we went at it a number of different ways. We do something called the Adirondack Challenge once a year, which many of you have been to, which does a lot of things for us, the Adirondack Challenge. It drives tourism, gets the message out about the Adirondacks, and especially the market downstate. The more we tell the story, the more tourism goes up. And then we have a rafting race in the Adirondack Challenge, which I love. Not as competitive as my brother. I would not try to kill the opponent the way my brother did. But a little, maybe. Well, it depends what it is, in truth. The Adirondack Challenge, we get to have a rafting race, which I love. I am undefeated in the rafting race. Oh, yeah. And some people get very annoyed. Dan Steck is here. You see when Dan Steck gives me trouble in the newspaper? That's not politics. It's because I beat his hiney every year in the rafting trip. And he doesn't get it. He comes, you know how big Dan is. He comes with another 4 guys his size. And I said, Dan, it is called the weight to power ratio. That's what wins the day. And you're not going to win if the raft is so heavy that you're skidding across the bottom down the entire river. And by the way, you're not going to win because the timekeeper works for me, Dan. But what we also did during that is we invite the downstate legislators to come up and see the North Country. Many of them have never been here before. And that really has empowered Betty and Dan and Billy and your representatives. Because if you represent the Bronx, you have more people in 2 blocks than Betty has in 100 miles. So it's a total different orientation. And I think it even worked on that level. And there has been a shift in the legislature. And they get it. And they get it now. And that whole one-state mentality really has made a difference. To help upstate, what did we have to do? We had to reduce taxes. Because the first economy that gets hurt by the high taxes is upstate New York. It is the first economy that got hurt. And it got hurt for many, many years. Because this state kept raising taxes, raising taxes, raising taxes. You saw businesses leave, you saw young people leave, and from a business attraction point of view, this was the last place they were going to come. So you had to reduce taxes. How do you reduce taxes? To reduce taxes, you have to reduce spending. It's that easy. It's how do you lose weight? Eat less. That's the whole formula. Exercise more would be nice, but even if you just eat less, formula is easy. It's just hard to do. To tell the state legislature spend less money is very, very hard. But we had to, because we were spending too much money, we were raising taxes too high. And we have brought a fiscal discipline to this state that it never had. Our spending has been 2% or under for 7 years. That has been a dramatic shift with the past. We spend less per year than any administration, any state government in modern political history. How can that be? You're thinking, he's a Democrat, those Democrats always like to spend money. That's not a nice thought to have, first of all. It's stereotypical. There are some Democrats who can count. Our spending rate has been 1.4% over 7 years, okay? George Pataki, 12 years, Republican conservative, 5.2%. My father, God rest his soul, 6.9. You carry 7.9. Nelson Rockefeller, Republican, did a lot of good work for the state, built a lot, SUNY system, et cetera, but incurred a lot of debt. 11% more every year. That's why the taxes were going up. When you spend 11% more, you have to raise taxes 11% more. You spend 6.9% more, you have to raise taxes 6.9% more. You get that spending down, you take in fewer calories, good things are going to happen. It's discipline, it's exercise, but good things are going to happen. You keep the spending down low, now you can reduce taxes. We cut taxes all across the board. Everybody in New York pays a lower tax rate today than they did 7 years ago. Every person, from the richest to the bottom end, every rate is down lower. Middle class up to $300,000, which is a big middle class, lowest rate since 1947. Corporate taxes, lowest rate since 1968. So, we dramatically changed the economic context of New York. We then did something else where we said we have to invest in upstate New York. It takes money to make money. To bring businesses to a state now, you don't just call and request. Every state offers an incentive package. It's a competition. They want to come to your state, they call you up and they say, well, California offered me this. What can you offer me? And it literally is like a bidding war among the states. And if you're not bidding, you're not in the game. So we started regional economic development councils, one for each region, meaning to make the North Country economy work is a little different than the Western New York economy, is a little different than Long Island. That's what Gary and Tony Collins have headed, and they've done a great job. And then we invested more money in upstate New York than any state administration ever invested in upstate New York. $36 billion in economic investment to bring in jobs. Today, New York State has over 8 million jobs, highest number of private sector jobs in the history of the state of New York. And that's what it's about. And it's not just that the jobs are coming and the economy is growing. Unemployment is down from 8.3 to 4.6, but it's down all across the state. If I showed you this map 15 years ago, you would have seen New York City doing well and upstate doing poorly. Now you see, because we're investing in upstate New York, unemployment is coming down all across the state. And the economic success is a shared success all across the state. The investments go all across upstate New York. North Country, we've invested over $3.4 billion. And Gary went through the list, but from Norsk to Bombardier, infrastructure, the Plattsburgh International Airport we're excited about. Plattsburgh won that DRI, Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant. Congratulations. Watertown won a downtown revitalization grant. We're investing in workforce development right here. Tourism, tourism, tourism. But we've also conserved more land than has been conserved in 100 years, right? Preserve the natural asset, the beauty, but people have to eat and people have to work, so you also have to have development and have that right mix, which I think we've done well on the Boreas Pond tract, which took a lot of work, and Commissioner Basil Sagos is here, and he did a great job. I'd like to give him a round of applause. But investing in Whiteface, Gore, Bel Air, make them state-of-the-art facilities. There is no reason why anyone from the New York City region should go to ski in Vermont or Massachusetts or any other place than upstate New York and the North Country. We've invested in tourism, which is going great guns. We just had to tell the story, and we have told the story. The tourism industry is now over $1 billion industry in the North Country, believe it or not. And we're going to keep growing that because that's just good jobs, and it's good for the soul. And then, as Gary said, one of the first requests they made was that we get high-speed internet into the North Country. Now, I'll tell you the truth. When they first asked me this, my wise guy response was going to be, I need a small nose. There's nothing I can do about that either. Internet access is not really a function of the state. It's a private market function. You have internet companies, and they run internet where they can make money. So they run internet in densely populated areas. They do cities, they do ring suburban communities, because with 1 mile of line, they get X customers. To go to rural parts of the state, it's just not economic. So they didn't go. Yeah, but now, because internet really is the infrastructure of tomorrow, you put those places at a serious disadvantage, right? Places at one time that didn't have a road or a highway, you couldn't get there. There's no economy there. Today, you need high-speed internet if you're going to compete. I don't care if somebody's hiking, if somebody's going to a hotel. There is no one who doesn't have to check in with someone or check in with work, and they expect it now. It's just a way of doing business. But how does the state get involved in getting these private sector companies to go to places that were not economically feasible for these companies? That was the challenge. And we set as a goal that we were going to have 100% coverage, because it is the infrastructure of tomorrow. And if you don't have high-speed internet, it is going to stunt the growth of those areas. I have no doubt about it. It's essential to competing, whatever business that you are in. It also makes a difference in everyday life. Downloading an MRI with no high speed, 14 minutes to download an MRI. High speed, literally in a matter of seconds. A child wants to download a textbook. Without high-speed internet, it's a full day. With high-speed internet, it's literally a couple of minutes. So 2015, we launched the Broadband Initiative, and we said we were going to set out to work with these private companies to find a way to get them to cover areas that they didn't want to cover. At that time, we had coverage for 70% of the homes. You see the map, they're all the densely populated areas. The 30% of the state that was less populated didn't have it. We have done 3 rounds. First round, we invested $75 million, and we went out to bid to those companies, and we said, we understand that you don't think it's economic. The state will subsidize the non-competitive nature, and then we bid among the companies to see who would give us the best price. We invested $75 million. We expanded access to 97%. Round 2, we got to 98% of New Yorkers. The North Country was the hardest area to do because it has the least density, the least existing infrastructure, and what they call the last mile. It was the most difficult to reach the last home, and the challenge was the North Country and some parts of the southern tier. We're now round 3, and that takes us to 99.9% of New Yorkers. When we started this program just a few years ago, 20% of the North Country had internet access. 20% had internet access. Round 1, it went to 80%. Round 2, it went to 86%. Now with round 3, 100% internet access for the North Country. This is the first state in the United States of America to have 100% internet access for the entire state. And I think that's going to be an incentive for companies all across the world to come to New York. The grantees in this 3rd round, you see, are all across the state covering the uncovered areas. The total investment in the North Country is going to be over $100 million. As I mentioned, you get the most money from any of the other regions. Doesn't mean I necessarily love you more, although I may, but it doesn't mean that there. It is because the North Country was harder to cover, and that's why the state had to invest more to get that coverage. But we are proud of it. And the better the North Country does, the better the upstate does, the better the state as a whole does. These are the actual grantees who are going to be running the actual internet literally from pole to home. You see, we had quite a number of companies that we're contracting with because we want to get it done quickly. So we don't want to go to just 1 or 2 companies and then they say they're overwhelmed. So we divided it into geographic segments, and we have plenty of companies working, so it'll happen quickly. 99.9 will have high-speed access, which is defined as 100 megabits by the state of New York, which is at the high end of what high speed is defined as. So our definition of high speed is really very high speed. Surprise, surprise. In total, it's been a $1 billion investment to get this done, but it is really an investment in this state, and we're going to get our money back. 2 other quick issues I want to talk to you about while I'm here. One is called SALT. Do you know what SALT is? something you put on food. What else is salt? Salt is state and local tax deductions. This is a real issue that we're going to have to deal with. Federal government passes a tax bill, president signs it in December. It cut taxes. When government cuts taxes, they have to find revenues to finance it, because government has to finance a tax cut. One of the things they did in that tax bill is they ended the deductibility of state and local taxes. Now, it's a mouthful, so people really haven't fully appreciated what it means. This is what it means. You make $100, you pay $6 in property tax, you pay $4 in state income tax, that's $10. So your take home is $90. Since 1913, when the income tax first started, the federal government then taxed you on $90. What this bill did was it says, we're not taxing you on 90, we're taxing you on 100. It's the first double taxation in the history of the country. They are taxing what you paid in property tax, and they're taxing what you paid in income tax. This raised money for the federal government. It devastates 12 states. The 12 states are what they would call the high spending states: California, New York, Michigan, New Jersey, Connecticut. We have worked phenomenally hard to get our property taxes down and our income taxes down. You've seen what we've done with that 2% fiscal discipline. We have a 2% property tax cap on local governments, which made them furious with me. But property taxes used to go up 6, 7, 8% every year. It was madness. So we showed discipline there too. We have a 2% property tax cap. This raises everybody's property tax and income tax 25% like that, overnight. All those years of the 2% cap, all that fiscal discipline, your income taxes and your property taxes just went up 25%. We can't handle that in New York. It's the exact opposite of what we've been doing. We're trying to get taxes down lower. This federal bill raised them higher than they were 7 years ago. And from a competitiveness point of view, it makes us have a structural disadvantage because it only hits 12 states. All the other states got a tax cut. So we're doing everything we can to undo this. We're working to repeal it. We are working with other states to actually bring an action that it is unconstitutional. It is the first time there's been double taxation. Abraham Lincoln started the first income tax on the states and said that it should be deducted before the federal government takes its share. It also happened to be very partisan. When you look at the 12 states, they are predominantly Democratic states. But as I said to anyone who would listen to me in Washington, just because my state is predominantly Democrat doesn't mean I don't have a lot of Republicans, and you're raising taxes on Democrats, Republicans, independent, tall people, short people. It's everybody. So we're doing everything we can to change it. One of the things we're doing, which Betty and Dan and Bill are going to be working on, I propose something called the Taxpayer Protection Act, which basically says, you want to tax our current tax code? Fine. We'll change our tax code. You launch a missile aimed at New York? Fine. We're going to move out of the way. We change the tax code from an income tax to a payroll tax. Why? Payroll taxes are still deductible. Income taxes aren't. Now, it's a major administrative shift, but it's revenue neutral. What it says basically is right now, you get a check from the employer and you pay taxes on the income. Payroll tax says the employer pays the tax on your income, but the employer can fully deduct it. It's a business expense. So it doesn't cost the business anything, but it saves you the taxes. Property taxes, we're trying to move to a structure where we set up charitable entities that are run by the local government. So the local government gets the funding from the property taxes, but the person who pays it gets a charitable deduction, which means you get a deduction for the property taxes. Obviously, this is complicated, and it's a lot of work, but we cannot have a 25% increase in our income taxes and our property taxes. It will undo all the good work we've done, and it'll make us much less competitive. I feel good about it. That will make a difference. Some people say, well, there's a $10,000 cap in the bill, meaning you can still deduct up to $10,000 in property taxes or income taxes. And a lot of people's property taxes are below $10,000. Yeah, but a lot of people's property taxes are above $10,000. And the people who are above tend to be wealthier people, tend to be business owners. We don't want them to leave because we've gone through that cycle. Businesses leave, wealthy people leave, and that tax burden then falls on everybody else. It's not like the tax burden goes away. Those are the people who actually use the fewest services. They move out of town. Your taxes go up because you have to pick up your proportionate share. So it's the major issue for us this year on the legislative agenda. Another critical issue is the Underwood Estates. We just visited them on the way here. 70 residences have been damaged, and they've been badly damaged. We have a problem all across the state. It's all across the Northeast of ice jams. And ice jams are dangerous. They start to break up. They clog a certain part of the river, and the water backs up and floods everything behind it. We have it in Thurman on the 418 bridge. We have it on the Salmon River, and Underwood Estates on the Saranac River, same thing. Ice jam, clogged at a curve, the water backed up, and basically destroyed 70 homes. The homes are not now eligible for any recovery by the state. And they're not eligible for federal recovery because they're below the threshold for federal recovery. But this is New York, and we are neighbors, and we're community, and we're family at the end of the day. And we have all gone through these storms from one end of the state to the other. I don't know if it's climate change or things falling off the podium. I don't know what it is. But, or maybe Mother Nature's having a nervous breakdown, but we are seeing weather like we've never seen before. And one of the beautiful things about this state, I don't care upstate, downstate, Democrat, Republican, when a place is in need, the entire state is there as one. It responds like a family would respond. Whether it was Hurricane Sandy on Long Island or 7 feet of snow in Buffalo, nobody has ever given me a problem when I've gone to the legislature and I said, look, these people need help. It's no fault of their own. And these 70 residences need help. So I don't care that it doesn't fit into a state program. I don't care that it doesn't fit into a federal program. We're going to reimburse people for their losses. There are 70 homes. We're going to make $7 million available, up to $100,000 per home. I don't think they'll even get to that level per home, but they were damaged, they're wet. Once a home gets wet and there's water in the fiberglass, mold is there the next day, and that's unhealthy and it's dangerous. So we want to do it right. We're also going to provide 3-month rental assistance for the families, where the state will pay the rent while they're getting the construction done or they're getting a new home, et cetera. There's also a berm that was damaged, and that's how the water came over. If the owner can figure out a way to keep the Army Corps of Engineers out of the approval process, not that I don't love to work. I love working with the Army Corps of Engineers. I love it. It's so much fun. But if you can keep it just within state control, Basil Sagos, commissioner, says he'll get it approved in 14 days. And give him a round of applause. And if it's not done in 14 days, his home number is 518-474. Look, it's very simple. What Betty does, and Billy does, and Dan does, and what I do, and all the other elected officials, you have an opportunity when you're in government. And the opportunity is very simple. You have an opportunity to help people. And not just issue a press release about helping people or have discussions and debates about helping people. You can really make a difference in people's lives. And that's what makes public service worth all the baloney that you have to take. I pride myself as governor on actually getting things done that actually make a real difference in people's lives. 100% broadband coverage is going to fundamentally change the economy of the North Country. Fundamentally. Keeping taxes down is going to fundamentally change our competitiveness. And getting 70 of our neighbors the help they need when they need it, that's what community and caring and love is all about. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Betty Little.
Wow, where do I begin? Thank you, Governor, for coming, as you always have. But thank you so much for all you have done for the North Country. It's really, for me, it's really an honor to work with the governor and his team and all the people involved in government right now. And I can say without blinking an eye, Governor Cuomo has brought more money to the North Country than we have ever received from the state of New York. This money for the broadband, this gets us in the end zone. And broadband and cell coverage is not something that's just nice to have. It's something that is essential for health, for safety, and for our economy. And we will never have any growth in the North Country if we don't have cell coverage and broadband. And this isn't the first time, I'll tell you, that we have gotten the most money in an award. So I keep track, you know.
I know.
And we've done very well. But this is a big one. To say we're getting $100 million to help complete the coverage, and there's all kinds of ideas, creative ideas in this program that will really get us to the finish line. And so thank you for your leadership, Governor. Thank you for just being so good to us and being here for us. And you know, another thing, as we approach the Olympics starting, 1st of February is tomorrow, we all know that we are all part of the Olympic region. And one thing that the governor didn't mention is that this year he continues that support, financial support for the Olympic venues and to keep Lake Placid region, and when I say region, I mean it's all of us because we all benefit from it, but being the snow capital, sports capital of the country and of the world, and we are known all over the world for that. And actually today, Jim McKenna is here from Lake Placid, and he has some special guests with him today who have come from the Federation of the Universiade Games that we are looking at, hoping to host. And they're looking at our venues, and I'm sure they'll look at our allocation in the budget that helps us get all our venues. You know, there's a choice to be made, and we can be a historic Olympic city, village, whatever, area that had 2 Olympics, or we can be a relevant Olympic area that continues to have games and World Cups, and everybody works so hard to do that. So thank you again, Governor, for what you're doing in this year's budget for our future as well. Visiting Underwood Park is really seeing what, and we all know how powerful water is, but when water then freezes in your house, you know it's even worse. But these people have been through an awful lot. They are a community. We have people that have lived there 45, 35, 26, I mean, many, many years, and this is their home. And the governor has a wonderful team. Our commissioners, Commissioner Ruth Ann from Housing, unbelievable help that we have gotten from the whole staff of her area, and Commissioner Basil from DEC, just wonderful people who are so intent on completing the governor's mission, which is to help. And what's happening with Underwood is really helping with a capital H. We're really just so grateful for you coming up here, but for you to direct your staff and everyone else to help as much as we have. You know, it's a very small number of people when you consider the millions of people that live in New York State. But today, those people are just as important as anybody, any place in the state. So thank you very, very much. And you know, I just very, very happy to be here and just so proud of being part of New York State and part of Governor Cuomo's team and government. And also for everybody else, all the locals who work so hard in everything that we do. So I think we have a wonderful future ahead of us, and all of these things today really make that future more possible. So thank you very, very much. And when I say part of my team, I have to mention and introduce our Assemblyman Billy Jones, who has been great to work with and is working very hard, Bennett there, and the mayor. We have toured now the park twice, so, and he's put an awful lot of effort into this, as his whole crew has. So, but wouldn't be possible unless we had the state helping us. So thank you very, very much.
Good morning. I didn't know I was batting cleanup here today, but when the governor tells you when you're about to walk out on stage and he says you're batting cleanup, leave him with some inspiration. So thank you, Governor. No pressure. But I will say a few things. It's great to be here today. It truly is. And when the governor delivers great news to this team we have here in the North Country, it really is a special event that we're having here today, and I'm just so proud to be a part of it. But just yesterday, the North Country Chamber of Commerce released its annual business index. And Gary was proud to announce that 96% of our businesses here in the North Country have confidence going ahead in our economy. That's something. But 95% of them also said in that survey that they wanted to address the gaps in the broadband coverage. And on Monday morning, I had the distinct pleasure of being involved in a legislative budget hearing with Commissioner Zemsky, and he was very happy to be there, Governor. He was, yes. So I asked him in that, he told you, yeah. I asked him in that hearing about the broadband program in New York State, more in particular the one in the North Country. So this morning we come here and the governor makes this announcement. So Governor, you act fast. You really do. No coincidence there. But the governor does act fast. We were down at Underwood Estates today, And there's been no governor in this state that we can remember that reacts quicker to the natural disasters that we go through than the governor here. And that's saying something. His team has been wonderful to work with. Everybody here, we're getting action to the flood victims down there as quick as possible. And you can't ask for anything more. It's all about the health and safety and well-being of our citizens. So thank you, Governor, for that. So we're here. It's a great announcement for broadband. We need broadband and high-speed internet in every function, every day of our lives. As far as education, small business, anything you can name of that component of broadband, we need to be there. Agriculture, our farmers need to be in real time now. That's important for our economy up here in the North Country. So it's a great announcement. It's extremely important, and I'm just so happy that that we can deliver this. Thank the governor again for delivering it. What a big deal this is. I don't think we'll actually realize what a big deal this is until 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And we can see that the North Country finally is part of the 21st century economy. We keep working towards that. And we have an opportunity here to improve the lives of people here in the North Country. And that says a lot. I think you should all give yourselves a round of applause. All the local officials here that have worked on this so hard through the years. You've done it for your communities. Give yourselves a round of applause. It's because of you and this North Country team here and the governor and the state reps here. This team works together to get results and get things done. We have a chance here. We have a lot of work left to do to implement it, but we have a chance here to really change the lives of people that we represent and our neighbors and our friends. So let's go out and do it. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Let's get this done. God bless you.